In Weathering with You, Hodaka makes an entirely selfish choice. He not only reverses a bittersweet, agonizing sacrifice, he dooms an entire country to a life of hardship, putting his own interests above those of millions of others. And I think he's completely right in doing so. Hodaka's choice is the culmination of a plot thread that has been bubbling in the background for the entire movie. From the beginning, Hodaka is presented as someone who is unrelenting in his convictions and values. Refusing to be the nail that gets hammered into place, as often is Japan's cultural philosophy, he runs away from home to pursue his own desires. He establishes himself in the sprawling metropolis of Tokyo, entirely through self-reliance and perseverance. I think there's something special about that almost electric dedication and belief in oneself. It might be that despite the faults that come with that way of thinking, it's also something I strive for myself. Hodaka's way of living is challenged by the final choice he's forced to make, between Hina and stopping the unrelenting rain. And, almost predictably, he chooses what he wants the most personally. The reason this choice resonates with me is also something I think the movie does a great job of displaying. We all make so many sacrifices in life. We sacrifice our health in the moment for the future. We sacrifice our passions in service of pragmatism. And sometimes we sacrifice the things we love for the benefit of society. Hina carries this attitude towards personal sacrifice with her. Earlier in the film, she asks Hodaka a question that he seems to treat as a mere curiosity, but was actually profoundly pivotal in her final decision. Do you wish the rain would stop? All he says is, well, sure, I guess that'd be nice. But she takes it as gospel, and it is that combined with her innate selflessness that pushes her to make her decision. But what I doubt is if you can really consider it her decision, when it's so influenced by all of these outside factors, what Hodaka thinks, what society expects, and not by what she truly wants. So when Hodaka essentially reverses her choice, I don't see it as him making a decision for her. She partially made her decision on a misunderstanding after all, that Hodaka corrects as they're careening towards Earth. I want you more than any blue sky. I think there is magic in refusing to sacrifice what one holds dear to them for once, and I think there is value in acknowledging that lives should be more than just transactional. At first glance, Madoka Magica and Weathering with You don't have too much in common. I mean, I guess they both have magical girls? Okay, I'll stop. But I think both of these properties share a single factor that links them inextricably: the power of choice. Despite their differences, Homura makes a very similar choice to Hodaka. She undoes the progress made throughout the entire series, reversing Madoka's selfless sacrifice for her own desires. And this is a choice that is reverberated throughout the community. Videos like "Homura was never a good person" cast a critical light on the morality of that decision, but I think I can make a good argument in her favor, and thus Hodaka's. In my last video on Madoka, I bring up the trolley problem, and I'm going to again. I'll let past me explain. You see, there's a famous thought experiment known as the trolley problem. You're a train track operator faced with a dilemma. A runaway train is barreling towards a group of 5 unknowing workers, while another track only has a single worker. Do you sit back and do nothing? Or do you switch the tracks to sacrifice one for the lives of many? This ethics thought experiment. The trolley problem was thought up by English philosopher Philippa Foot, and is designed to discern whether or not you align with one of two schools of thought: utilitarianism or deontological ethics. Here's what that means using words less than 6 syllables. How much emphasis do you place on the end result versus how you got there? Those who are utilitarianists argue that by switching the tracks, you maximize the sum total amount of happiness in the world. But by doing so, you take the fate of a single person into your own hands, which is troubling in deontology. Lives aren't purely mathematical, and you could argue that it's not up to you to automatically assess that life as having lesser value. At first, Homura watches Madoka make her sacrifice, bringing all current and past magical girls to salvation, removing their inevitable transformation into witches. But it eventually dawns on her that nothing has fundamentally changed. There are no more witches, yes, but there are still magical girls, and their lives are still on the line each day, battling wraiths. Kyubei not only still exists, he's out doing exactly what he always has, a daily fixture in Homura's life. Madoka relieves the suffering of almost an innumerable amount of magical girls, yes. But was it worth it? I don't blame Homura for answering no. What Madoka did was remarkable and noble, but it is trying to hold back an inferno with a single cup of water. The result is quite similar in Weathering with You. While the endless rain is certainly troubling, the question is if it's worth tearing Hina's life, one of great potential and already lived through hardship, from this mortal coil. On our current trajectory, it is all but guaranteed that humanity has influenced climate to the point where it has been irrevocably altered for the worst. Why sacrifice Hina, someone completely innocent, who only has good intentions, to simply delay the inevitable? At the risk of sounding naive, it just isn't fair. The fact that Shinkai chooses this outcome is, I feel, at least slight justification for my point of view. Any potential sacrifice is cheapened by the fact that at most, you're just kicking the can down the road. Finally, the movie doesn't end with a dramatic declaration of love. It continues for some time after. And we see that while the situation is still dire, people are adapting. The kind grandmother that Hodaka meets has to move, sure, but she's not bitter about it. It's just something that had to happen. Over time, humans can adapt to some extraordinary circumstances. You can't bring someone back from the dead. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe for more content. This video adapts an Our Anime Writing Club post I participated in, and there's plenty of more perspectives and exploration in that post, so I highly recommend checking it out. If you want to support me further, you can donate to my Patreon. Special thanks to TaloonBG, Tuck In Your Anime, Snake Tamer 632, Yo, You Should Roll More, Ted the Redeemer, and Father George for their support. Oh, and especially the G-Kids for kindly letting me use their footage. They've done a lot to support creators, and I look forward to watching more of their releases. And of course, if anything I said was wrong, I'm sorry. I must have stuttered.